Lords and ladies, we finally have some good news, and we finally have something to talk about when it comes to Exodus. Most importantly, we now know that Exodus release date is likely sooner rather than later, because you can now wishlist the game, which is usually an indication of some release date in sight, albeit not a specific one, at least as yet. But beyond that, we also got a Q&A that was atypically interesting and informative, I would argue. So let's go over some of the key points from the Q&A, all the while showing off some of the new art that Archetype has posted, with the ability now to wishlist the game on various platforms. So Exodus, in case it wasn't obvious, was heavily inspired by Mass Effect in terms of it being an epic space opera with choice and consequence, but also apparently Horizon Zero Dawn in terms of targeting enemy weak points, and interestingly enough, Metroid Prime for its sense of a combination of exploration and isolation, and more importantly, environmental obstacles that require new abilities or technologies to overcome or bypass, which you will then find via exploration, or at least that's the implication. Combat will be guided by player choice in terms of how you want to approach it, and stealth can play a big role if you want it to. There are abilities that will allow you to fully capitalize on stealth tactics if you so choose, as well as tech suits called Aegis suits, along with dedicated stealth companions who can aid you in this task. But of course, it's ultimately up to you, and if you want to go in guns blazing and fully forsake stealth, that's an option as well. The developers are aiming for a mix of the cinematic and strategic in terms of combat, and have cited Star Wars as a kind of analogy in terms of observe, plan, and execute, and be prepared if your plans don't work out exactly the way you wanted them to. And players are encouraged to make use of tools creatively to overcome various odds and solve different problems in different ways. Now, they also talked about a specific weapon, which the game director referred to as the quote-unquote Swiss Army knife of the Traveler, called a recycler, that can be transformed into different tools on the fly and makes use of scrap and scavenged materials for ammo, and thus it kind of serves as a universal weapon and tool for June. And if I might add, it definitely fits the profile of a traveler, a guy who's exploring space, looking for ancient remnant tech, this sort of thing. So I like the idea of the recycler, which you can see on the screen. Now, speaking of the protagonist, whose name is June, in case you weren't aware, you're meant to come across as a relatable, sort of unsuspecting hero from humble beginnings who grows in ability and confidence throughout the game, but always sort of retains a core human element or aspect to their essence. And of course, you will discover more about your own secret, shrouded past, but at the core of it all, you are a human being, and this game is about saving humanity. Now, the premise of the story is your quest to save your world Leiden from the Rot, which has essentially been described as a techno-virus that corrupts and destroys celestial tech, ultimately rendering your planet uninhabitable and changing even your enemies in the process. The central weighty choices involve how June uses the celestial remnants, which are hyper-advanced tech from a bygone age, and these decisions are complicated, because companions will often disagree with the way you use celestial tech, and that's a big deal, of course, because celestial tech has long-term consequences, often extending centuries into the future. In terms of enemies, you'll begin kind of as a baby with human factions and some celestial constructs, and slowly work your way up the ladder of more dangerous and complex enemies. Of course, this would almost certainly be celestials as you progress through the game. As mentioned before, the Rot will affect enemies too, and they'll make them more aggressive and more dangerous. And finally, as they mentioned, side quests are not going to be filler content. They are meant to be meaningful and critical for world building, developing various companion relationships, upgrading skills, and you'll find valuable loot as you do side quests, which will help you in overcoming certain obstacles, as I mentioned before. And the game features a Metroidvania-like structure where players find new celestial abilities that allow them to traverse previously unreachable areas, like I said. Now that would be it for the Q&A, more or less, and the new art that's been posted. But most importantly, if you are interested in Exodus, I strongly recommend you to wishlist it on a platform of your choice, either PC, PlayStation, or Xbox. And do stay tuned for more info, as Archetype has promised there will be more news this year, and maybe even gameplay before the year is over. And I have to mention this too, the soundtrack to this game sounds amazing. Incredible synths, very reminiscent of Jack Wall's work, who composed Mass Effect 1 and 2, and it even has a bit of Deus Ex Human Revolution appeal to it. I absolutely love the music already, so if everything else sucks, I'll at least like the music. And I think at this stage we can be near certain that the game is slated for a 2026 release window, though when exactly only the gods know, but knowing a year is a great start. And of course, if you're interested in Exodus, and especially the world building and lore, stay tuned in on my channel, as I fully plan to become your go-to lore guy for the game. And I've been waiting a long time to talk more about Exodus, and now with the release getting closer and closer, I'll probably be talking more about the game and dropping some lore bites here and there to help you prepare for your adventure. And of course, once the game comes out, I will review the game and talk extensively about the lore and everything involved in the world building and the universe. I'm really looking forward to it. But, as always, thank you for tuning in. And if you like my content and you like my takes, you can leave a like, comment, share, and subscribe. It's really appreciated, as it helps out with the growth of the channel. As I said, check out my channel for more Exodus content going forward, and I will talk to you all later. Take care.